Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Profiling Evil Live. I'm actually calling in tonight from Washington, D.C., and I hope everybody's doing well. We're going to let people kind of fill in right here. But Kimberly Myers, thank you so much for being first on the list tonight. And it was great to see you. In East Tennessee Life, we'll chat a little bit about your comment in a few minutes once we get rolling. But I hope you're all doing well. And I hope you're having a good afternoon. It looks like Diane Phoenix has pulled in, Rita Schaefer, and folks are starting to come in here pretty quick now. This is an Ask Mike Anything. The back office is out of the office. One's in Spain. The other one's in meetings at work still. I'm sitting in a hotel room next to the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and trying to run this show on my own. So give me some slack tonight, please. Heather Laughlin, thank you. Heather says her mom, Linda, and I are huge fans. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Deborah, how you doing? This has been another busy week. Now, for me personally, it's been really busy because I've had meetings. Got in Sunday night, and I'll be here all week taking care of some national 911 meetings that I'm involved in. I've been making some visits. I did some personal things last night in the city, and I've been meeting a few friends. But last night, I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, but I had a long conversation with 4 friends that I haven't seen for about 7 or 8 months. So it was nice to go see him again and talk to him. Again, folks, we're going to be quick again tonight. These lives are intended to get you back to your evening. So if you have questions, let's talk about them and see where we're going. Joanne, thank you so much. That's really nice. I hope you all are taking advantage of the Profiling Evil Academy. The numbers continue to grow. People are acting like it's something that's enjoyable and that you're learning something in it. So hopefully we'll see. We just launched another one. I think I was supposed to launch it last night, but I was tied up in meetings till late night and didn't get it out. But interested in what some of you thought on the last couple of those. And Anna Clayton, howdy from Texas. Great to see you jump in. And so let's go right here and start off. As it relates to the Summer Wells case, Catherine Ann Thompson is writing, what do you think the statements made by a male caller, Josie, that stayed at the Wells home? You know, I'd be really interested in your remarks down below, in part because I haven't studied it real deeply, because, again, I usually don't go off on kind of the ghost stories versus what really is out there, and don't know enough. But let me watch and see what you come up with down below. I'm interested in that. The Crumbley case, Green to Red is asking what I think about the Crumbley case, and I think a couple of things in my regard. One is I really was glad that the prosecution didn't put Ethan Crumbley in a juvenile detention facility. I think it's sad that we haven't figured out quite how to manage those kinds of things in corrections. But what he did was just too egregious, especially as more information came out during those hearings. For his parents, you know, I was really unhappy and troubled when that prosecutor first filed charges against the parents, because I personally thought, well, why on earth are you holding the parents responsible for what a kid did? And then more information started to come out about the extent of his troubled background and things that a parent should have been more aware of. And frankly, if you got a kid with mental health issues, you shouldn't be buying them a gun. I don't think you should be buying a kid a gun anyway. It should be mom and dad's gun, or at least it should be locked up in a safe, and it's never pulled out unless a responsible adult's with them. So I guess that's kind of my response to that. And this will be an interesting one to see. Big E Ohio State fan. Thank you. She says she's glad I changed up the podcast. Didn't like it, but now I love it. Well, it was really hard because that first year we were doing the podcast, we were trying to see kind of what would stick and what was meaningful to people. And we thought that season 2 ought to be more microscopically focused. So we selected cults. Some people really don't like it. And I've heard both sides of it. But it is an important topic, especially when you think about cult behaviors. And so we're going to stick with it. I'm in the middle of recording season 2 of Mapping Evil, which is the podcast we started in Southeast Asia. And that thing rose to number 3 on Apple's podcast list last year. And we actually haven't even told people this. I mentioned it on Web Sleuths Monday or Sunday night when I joined Trisha on Web Sleuths. But we won the National Podcast Award in Australia for Mapping Evil with Mike King. So that was really pretty exciting. And of course, last week we had the launch of the 60 Minutes Australia film on Mr. Cruel. And to anyone who asks, I have not watched it yet. I've seen a couple of clips. I don't know about you, but sometimes you get a little goofy feeling when you look at yourself on TV. So I haven't watched it, but I've heard a lot of people respond about that. So let's see here. Let me grab a couple of questions. Lifelong Learner says, I've been wondering for some time, is there a behavior pattern that brings murderous parents to declare a child missing? This is kind of interesting. I don't know exactly if there's a specific case that you're talking about, but we're seeing a lot of interesting cases where parents are reporting their children missing when actually they are later charged with murder. We have one right now with the Bigsby case going on in Virginia. And that's a really interesting case. If you haven't been watching that, a little 4-year-old boy named Cody Bigsby, his father, Corey Bigsby, was arrested a few days ago, charged with 7 counts of child endangerment charges, dating back to before the new year started. I always kind of scratch my head and wonder why we're doing it now, other than it took until January 31st for Cody to be reported missing by his father. Retired military man, had 4 little ones in the house. His wife was gone, and they haven't really released the reasons for that. But this little tyke disappeared in the middle of the night, and now dad's arrested, and it is fraught with all kinds of problems. I mean, the police, from the reports that I'm reading online, made some huge errors in regard to getting this man an attorney when he requested one. If in fact that's true, any statements, confessions, evidence that they received after the fact are going to be thrown out. And I'll tell you, I've been there. I've been there where you just want to push as hard as you can to get a confession, but if you cross over the line, you may as well stop because it's not going to be used anyway, and it shows more about your character as an investigator. So I don't know, but anyway, yeah, we're watching a lot of those. Let's see. I don't know what this is, but it sounds really important. Anybody that wants to know, the safe code is 4 zeros. So the SSS has shared that information. So thank you. So this is kind of an interesting one. Do you think Brian Laundrie's parents should be charged? And I'd like to see what you think. Now, emotionally, many of us might think that something should happen, but I think the lawyer is accurate that there's no obligation for them to incriminate themselves. That's what the Constitution does. You would hope that any parent, if they knew about that, would not only have their child, even if it's an adult, by the ear and dragging them to the principal's office, but that you would be trying to save this individual or victim, and more importantly, save that family of the anguish of looking for weeks until they discovered Gabby's body. So that's going to be an interesting one to unfold. Now, I know my buddy Scott Reich the other night said that he doesn't think it's going to go anywhere. I'm now hearing that some people are saying, well, could there possibly be criminal charges? That's, I guess, all left to be seen if the state uncovers something that would cause them to be criminally charged. The amount that the Petito family is asking for is pretty small when you think about civil cases. They're asking for about $100,000, if I remember the documents correctly. And maybe it's more a statement. And one thing Scott said that I really liked was maybe it's an attempt to force their hand to release more information as part of a settlement or something. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. So, hey, lifelong learner, thanks a lot. Yeah, please, everybody, hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate the ability we've had to grow, and thanks for the nice compliments about the award down in Australia. That was nice. And hopefully you folks caught the Hunting Mr. Cruel video, and you watched my video a few nights ago on the Mr. Cruel rabbit hole, where I show a couple of segments. Those are the only segments I've seen in the video, but I actually got called because I'm working on another project with 60 Minutes Australia, and I promised them that I would watch that on the plane this week when I fly home. So I'm going to actually be able to speak to that next week. Don Marie, thanks for welcoming everyone and getting them comfortable here. And Richard, it's going well. It's been kind of an interesting couple of days. In fact, I want to show you a little video. Last night I went and visited some old friends of mine, and maybe I'll just play this video while I'm visiting, or while I'm talking about this. Let's see here. This is when I really wish I paid the back office a lot more money. So let's see here. All right. So I went down last night to the law enforcement memorial, and I thought I'd just share with you some images from the memorial. I went and visited with 4 friends down there, scratched their names so that I could take their names back to their families. Now, the lions are there because law enforcement is always considered by the term nickname Leos, and Leos are lions. And of course, you can see how beautiful this area is. This is just north of the Metropolitan Police Department. And here were 3 names: Bryce Haynes, Ron Heaps, and Jared Frankham, that I wanted to visit. And then, of course, one that I wanted to do personally for a family, and that is Detective Dennis Westenhoff. And I had the opportunity to call the Westenhoff children while I was at the memorial and spend some time on the phone with them, and just give them my love and wish them the very best. So it's for police officers, a very sacred and special and hallowed place. And it was just very nice to be able to go there and visit a few old friends. So that's what I did last night, and then I've had to just work my guts out since then as I've taken care of things. So now this is interesting. Let's pop this up from Millie Miles. Do you know why an ex-boyfriend would give me his hoodie with blood spots? He was robbed and poked in the stomach with a knife. Isn't that interesting? And I'd love to know a little more about that. Perhaps you could email me offline at profilingevil@gmail.com, and we could learn a little bit more about that. Is it a plea for attention and hoping you'll reconsider leaving him? Why people do things is just beyond me at times. but that's really interesting. So here we go. Let's go over to Bakersfield and talk about the West children. Kimberly Myers says, I'm here in Bakersfield with Jacqueline and Trezell. I hear they call the prosecuting side a race issue problem, so the case is halted a bit. Is that true? I don't know if that's true or not, but something I've said over and again in the Morphew trial and in all of the hearings leading up to the Morphew trial is it's something I learned when I was a young investigator. The first time I got ripped apart by the defense on the stand, I was just hotter than a hornet. And then I had an old sage cop sit me down and say, listen, take it as a compliment if they're attacking weird kinds of things. And I'm not saying by any means that racism is weird, folks. So please don't write me and think that I'm saying that. But what I'm saying is when they try to distract you from the facts of the case to all these other kinds of things, that to me is a compliment to the investigation, that there's something good going on there and something that is making him nervous. I would suspect that that's the case in that particular situation as well. So C12EH hasn't been here for a while. Good to see you back, folks. Hey, I want to just plug our memberships for anyone that's interested. We have we have 2 levels. We tried to make it easy this year. We got rid of the more expensive level, and I still want to thank all of those who were able to help us with that. But we dropped it by 2/3, and our most expensive level is the Academy level, where you get extra content ahead of anyone else. And that's the Academy level is $4.99 a month. And maybe those of you who are Academy members could weigh in of whether you're finding value in that or not. And be blunt, if you're not, I need to know. And then for those of you that just want to support us in our efforts and what we're trying to do, $1.99 a month is all we ask for to help as just a member. And that opens up the door for you to get some information here and there. If you're not a member or if you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button and become a subscribed part of the Profiling Evil family. So I think this is interesting. Laurent, I thank you so much, A.A. Laurent. I think I'm the only one who doesn't think, I think this is the Crumbley parents should be charged, at least not criminally. A lawsuit might be more appropriate. Yeah, that's really interesting. And a civil lawsuit is much easier to prove than a criminal case. And that's why I think we're slowly seeing more civil suits happen in some of these cases. Maybe why the Petitos are doing it, that oftentimes insurance will settle out rather than deal with it. So I don't know. Zambia says, do you think Chad Daybell's trying to postpone his trial again by trying to get Rob Wood kicked off the case again? Well, the interesting thing is he's gotten a lot of continuances. I suspect there will be more, because I think there'll be a move to separate the Chad and Lori cases. But don't you think he's got to be just sitting back, scratching his head saying, man, why didn't I think of that mental illness thing? Because I don't know, maybe you'd have to be mentally ill to kill your children. But she has shown us also that she's very crafty. So I don't know. I got invited to fly over and join Nancy Grace on a special that Fox is doing on the Daybell case. And because of my meetings here in DC, had to decline that. But I understand there are a number of people who have contributed from the YouTube creator community that will be participating in that. And so that was nice to be invited. And I'm sorry, I look forward to seeing what they come up with. That continues to be one hot potato, but we'll see what happens. So I wanted to also make mention, and some of you have already said it, I didn't even know it happened today. I, again, was sitting in meetings, and I got a text from Jared Lysick over at Adventures with Purpose that he said, hey, I announced something on his channel today that I thought maybe I ought to tell you about. And he announced that Profiling Evil has synced up with Adventures with Purpose. Jared asked me if I would come over and do a podcast series for him before they go out on each of their dives looking for someone. Their first dive will be starting in 2 days. I'll have a new podcast that will pop out. It's going to be under Adventures with Purpose's YouTube channel. It will be Adventures with Purpose's podcast, but it will be Adventures with Purpose and Profiling Evil. And we'll be exploring these cases together and spending a whole lot more time together, which is great because I think the world of Jared. And we already have gotten some really intriguing information on a case that they will be landing tomorrow. Doug's driving all night right now, trying to get there in time for some dives that will begin on Thursday. And I believe my first podcast will drop sometime around the time he hits the water. And the idea will be, I'll tell the story, I'll help cover the victimology, I'll cover the criminal aspects of the case, my recommendations of where the team should dive, where they should search, and some things along that line. I'm going to be joined by someone you met on Profiling Evil some time ago. Taylor Nicholas is going to join me, and we're going to talk about those cases. And then we'll probably take, after Adventures with Purpose does their infield work, we'll probably push back and forth between channels to get a little extra information on the story. So I'm just thrilled to be able to have the Profiling Evil team working with the Adventures with Purpose team, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Alicia says, your Mr. Cruel is on YouTube, I believe, in its entirety, even for those in the U.S. Yes, in fact, if you go to the playlist and go to Mr. Cruel's Rabbit Hole from a couple of nights ago, I put the link to the YouTube channel or to the YouTube video of the Mr. Cruel video. I also have in there the Mr. Cruel story map that you can go through and learn a little bit about. Maybe what I'll do is pop that up right now so you can kind of see that. You can find that by going to mappingevil.com. And once you're there, that's Mapping Evil with Mike King. Scroll down to Season 1, Episode 6, The Landscape of the Victim and the Predator. And it will look something like this. Let's see here. Here we go. And this is the story map for Mr. Cruel, which will give you the ability to, let's see if I can get back in there, go through, click on the story map. You'll see it right here. And it'll take you into the story map, the case of Mr. Cruel. And in there, you should be able to, let's see, I'm wondering if there's a problem on your side. Let's see. There we go. Is this going to work? Uh-oh, there's something wonky happening. So anyway, go to profiling or to mappingevil.com and look for that story map. I don't know what I did wrong there, but again, another reason why that back office is just so darn important. I miss those guys. I hope they're having fun. It's, let's see, probably about 2 a.m. where Tyler is right now. So I hope they're all having a blast. Well, folks, I have committed to myself and to all of you that I was going to try to keep these a little shorter. We're going to continue to just look at a couple more questions. And I want to just say thanks, Diane. The Academy is amazing, even with homework. Yes, there is homework, folks, for those who are second milers. And if you remember what the second miler principle was, The people that just go a little bit further can get more information and dig in a little deeper. So please take advantage of that. So let's see. I'm going to be on Court TV in about an hour and a half or so. So maybe jump over and watch me on there. We're going to be talking about a couple of interesting cases. One that I've talked a lot about on Profiling Evil, and then another case that's fresh in the news. So I hope you'll join there and listen in. And my thanks always to Vinnie Politan and the entire team. Gowan Grimm says AWP is the reason I'm here. They do amazing work. Yeah, I like to remind Jared that we've actually sent him a number of people too, but he's great. So let's see. Big Mike asks, do you think the prosecution had enough evidence against Barry Morphew, even though the judge says there is a lack of evidence? Why is there a trial if that's the situation? Well, there's a trial because he's facing murder charges, and you're gonna do everything you can to see as much information as you can. You got to get through that preliminary hearing. In his case, you gotta get as much information on what's available. They went through that process. They saw what the state's side is. A lot of cases have been pled to right before the trial starts, some even during the trial. I have to just keep going back to, with all the noise that has been created, the state and the prosecutor knew what information they had. I've gone over really closely the information that was shared about a week and a half ago, or maybe last week, of the last hearing, where they were talking about Agent Cahill and his personal problems and leaving and not wanting him to serve the warrant for arrest when they did. None of that has bothered me yet, because I can see why he didn't want him serving the warrant. He was on military leave. He wanted to be there. He'd been working hard on this case. He wanted to stay on the case in an advisory role, but the district attorney didn't want him on the case for some reason. So I have to keep thinking there's got to be enough there. And we know there was enough there for the judge to bind him over for trial. And those are no small thing. Now, is it enough that they can win a trial? It's hard to say. I mean, look at how wacky these criminal cases can be. When you watch some of them that have just happened most recently, the police officer in Tampa being exonerated from murdering that man in the movie theater. I mean, there are just so many wacky decisions that happen that it's really hard to understand and to say. Well, you guys are all amazing. We do have a new member. Rita Schaefer is a new member tonight. Thanks, Rita. And again, folks, I really appreciate all your support and everything you do for Profiling Evil. I hope you're sharing us with your friends so that we can continue to grow. It is in part one of the ways in which we get a little more revenue, and whether people like it or not, you need a little revenue to keep these things going. And so we really appreciate that, and we appreciate your support. I appreciate all of the comments that I get in emails. I try to read them and try to respond to as many as I can in your comments section down below. And then I try to read as many of these as I can, and sometimes go back and read them after we have a live, and try to participate with you that way as well. But from all of us in Washington, D.C., which is just me, and the Profiling Evil family who's out in all different parts of the world tonight, thank you so much for all you do for us, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon at the next crime scene.